The Committee on Parole is called back to order. The time is 11:44. Our next case is Mr. Nathaniel Kelly. Mr. Kelly, would you give us your full name and DOC number, please?
Sir, my name is Nathaniel L. Kelly. My DOC number is 597-279.
Mr. Kelly, let me explain our procedure to you. I'm going to read some information into the record, and then we're going to do a parole interview with you. At the appropriate time, we're going to allow those persons who wish to have input to speak. Speaking on your behalf today is your mother, Miss Joyce Frith. Speaking in opposition is Mr. John Kersey, Miss Samantha Kersey, Miss Kimberly Kersky, and also here but not speaking is Patricia Kersky. Afterwards, you'll have an opportunity to say whatever you'd like to say to the board, and then we'll vote. You understand our process?
Sure.
This is the matter of Nathaniel L. Kelly, DOC number 509-7279. Mr. Kelly's date of birth is May 15th of 1978. He's a first-time felony offender. He has a parole eligibility date of January the 17th of 2024. He is not eligible for good time, and he has a full-term date of August the 6th of 2026. He is currently serving a 17-year sentence on the charge of forcible rape, having been sentenced on April the 16th of 2012. Mr. Kelly, is all of that information accurate and correct?
Sir.
Mr. Kelly, how old are you, sir?
I am 45.
And how long have you been in prison on these charges?
14 years.
Tell me a little bit about your educational background, Mr. Kelly. How far did you go in school?
I dropped out and then I got my GED whenever when I became an adult. Then later on, after I got incarcerated, I continued my education, and I have a bachelor's and an associate's degree through Ashland University. And I also do a tutoring program for the school here at RLPC.
Okay. What kind of work did you do before you came to prison?
I done tree line work. I trimmed the trees away from the power line for the power company.
Drugs or alcohol ever been an issue with you?
Yes, sir.
What or both?
It's always just the drugs. It was never alcohol.
When did you first start using drugs?
The first time I used drugs was during this crime that I committed.
Okay, well, what time were we talking about? How old were you when you first started using drugs?
31.
And what kind of drugs did you start using?
It was Xanax and ecstasy.
And how often were you using Xanax and ecstasy?
Just this one time.
So just once.
Yes, sir.
And what caused you to use drugs on that particular time?
I was with my ex-wife. We were having a party and everything, just hanging out, and she had some, so I tried it.
Is this the only time you ever used drugs?
The only time I've ever used drugs. But I do have a drug problem because of the fact I tried it. I ended up offending or victimizing my victim.
Well, we're going to talk about that in a second, okay? So let's talk about these allegations. Let's talk about what happened here. So tell me what happened here. Where were you at the time this happened?
I was in Shreveport, Louisiana.
Okay, and who were you staying with at the time?
I was staying in a motel.
Okay, so what happened? Tell me how this came about.
My ex-wife is very good friends with the victim's family. The victims, they used to play with my kids because they were all around the same age.
Now, your ex-wife is Miss Self, Christine Self.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so go ahead and continue.
She lived in Shreveport with her mother.
Okay.
Victim stayed with Miss Self. They sent my son and my daughter an invitation for a birthday party, May the 28th of 2008. Instead of driving up for the party and then coming back, I grabbed a hotel room, dropped my kids off with Miss Self and her mother, and Miss Paige and Miss Sam while they were staying there. Later on that night, me and Christy, Miss Self, we decided we were going to go to the casino. Went out to the casino, went to a couple of bars and everything. I don't drink, so I was a designated driver. As we were at the casino where the hotel was, we ended up getting a hold of some Xanax and some ecstasy and took it. Next thing I remember, wake up the next morning, my two victims are laying next to me in the bed. I'm laying there in my underwear.
So what happened? You don't remember anything that happened?
So nothing else was said about that until almost a year later, whenever the Freeport Caddo Parish Sheriff Department contacted me, asked me if I would come and talk to him. I said, yes, I have no problem. I asked what it was about. He said it was an ongoing investigation. I drove to the courthouse in Monroe. That is where he proceeded to tell me that I sexually assaulted Miss Paige and Miss Sam. I asked, when did it happen? They couldn't tell me exactly when it happened, so they went with my indictment reads from May of 2008 to somewhere in October of 2008, this crime happened. The only time I was around them was that one particular night whenever I woke up.
Mr. Kelly, are you telling me that nothing happened?
No, I'm not saying that. No, sir.
Will you tell me then what happened? What did you do?
That I can't tell you, sir, but what I can say is that I know something had to have happened.
Well, you gave several stories to the police about what happened. Now, come on. You're telling me, oh, I took some ecstasy and I took some pills for the first time in my life, and all of a sudden I end up molesting two young girls very seriously, giving them a disease. And there are allegations in your police report and in your entire file that this is not the first time that you've done something like this. Now, you're going to tell me you don't remember? You gave the police two separate stories about how you were changing one of them because she had messed on herself and you happened to slip your finger in her behind. What do you mean you don't remember? You don't know? This is your time to come clean. If you expect me to vote to let you out, you better damn well be honest and truthful today. Now, if your story is that's it, facts, that's the way it is, then okay. But if you want to be more honest with me, I'm willing to listen.
The incident that you were referring to about the several stories about the changing the diaper and everything, that was a previous allegation. That was not with my victim. Now, that was get thrown out of court because of the fact, I'm not thrown out of court, I apologize. That was not even brought up to me until this investigation. I was never questioned about that until this investigation came about. Now, I did say that, yes, because at the time, he was telling my detective was telling me that this happened at a certain time. That previous allegation, that girl and her mother did live with me. However, the investigation was dropped for the simple fact because they done a physical exam on the female and they come to find out that she had not been touched. But the fact that I have the previous allegation and then this right here, coming up with the Miss Kirsty children, I went on ahead and I told him, okay, well, what are they saying? What happened? He tells me that they didn't know when it happened, where it happened, or how it happened, but that I walked up behind one of them, pulled their pants down, and stuck my penis in their butt. Then I turned around walked away from that one, from one of them, and went to the other one and done the same thing. There was no DNA evidence, and it was a one-time thing. The report says that I didn't say nothing to them whenever they were talking to Casca or wherever they went. And they, for over a year, they never said nothing to anyone. So after hearing the story and seeing the videos while I was locked up in Shreveport, I seen how my actions of what happened hurt the kids. It hurt not only the kids, but their family, my family also. I turned around. I ended up doing jail time for almost 4 years. They were back and forth with continuances. I ended up telling my lawyer that I want to change my plea from innocent to guilty. He asked why. I said, because what happened should never have happened, and they should not have to live through that again by going through the court system and having to testify in front of more people. So I changed my plea right there from the rape, from not guilty to guilty.
And they reduced the charges to that, to something that you pled to.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, they did.
And in spite of the fact that the police reports suggest that there is evidence or there's testimony that you've done this in the past, you say that's all a lie.
The one with the allegation, there was no finding.
I'm asking you right now because your ex-wife says you did do something, and it's in the police reports and it's in your file. You're saying none of that happened.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I have 2 previous allegations. The one my
Did you do anything previously?
No.
So that's what I'm saying. You denied anything other than this one time that you now say you don't remember doing because you were on drugs. Is that what I'm hearing?
So that is not what you're hearing. My very first incident of my allegation was with my daughter. She went to school and said that she touched me in my private area and was not supposed to tell anyone. The school took it and flipped it around to make it seem like she was being sexually assaulted. CPS got involved in it. They recommended that my daughter be removed from the house. I could be around her as long as I wasn't around her by myself. Me and my daughter have a very strong relationship. That did not happen the way that they put it. I did not go to prison for that. I did not go to jail. I did get questioned. I gave my statement about it.
My question to you is, you deny doing anything with your daughter inappropriate.
Inappropriately, yes, sir.
All right, okay. You took sex offender treatment?
Yes, sir. I've had all
Tell me what you learned in sex offender treatment.
Well, the first thing I learned is that I learned the 27 risk factors. And then sitting back while I was going through the program, I realized that out of the 27, 10 of them actually applied to me before my incarceration. I got into drugs.
What were some of those 10 factors?
I tried drugs, shouldn't have done that. I was under a mind-altering substance, shouldn't have done that. I put myself in a situation to where I could victimize somebody, and that's another thing that I shouldn't have done. Grooming, that's another risk factor in there. These 2 children, Sam and Paige, I knew before the incident happened. All right. So if that's the case, part of the sex offender treatment is you're grooming someone to victimize them. I'm sure I didn't just attack them. I'm sure that
in looking back, how did you groom these 2 young women to do what you did?
Because I befriended them. Anytime
people befriend people all the time. That doesn't mean they're grooming them to have sex with young children.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. But at the same time, going through the risk factors and everything, I see that befriending underage children while I'm sitting there and playing with my kids and the Kirsty children and bringing food to them and giving them candy and stuff. Maybe that led up to what happened. I can't explain that, but there are 27 risk
What
factors.
other risk factors apply to you?
Manipulation. I will be honest with you about that, manipulation, because
How did you manipulate? Tell me how that applies specifically to you.
I took what they had trust in me. These are two kids that grew up or were growing up with my kids. They trusted me. I manipulated them by breaking that trust, by going past that barrier line. That is how I manipulated. I let them believe that they could trust me and that everything is okay. And then I turned around and I hurt them.
Well, I thought we blaming all this on drugs.
No, I'm not blaming it all on drugs. I'm blaming it all on myself. I'm the one who made the choice to take the drug. I'm the one who
No,
made.
I hear you. But what you're saying is the reason you did this is because you were on drugs. Doesn't matter who gave you the drugs, whether it was your choice or not. Your position and what I'm hearing you say to me today is the only reason I did this is because I took some drugs and I went in there and did some illegal acts with these two young girls. Am I right or am I wrong? I mean, I'm hearing you say, you know, I don't remember doing anything because I was on drugs, but I must have done something because I was on drugs. And now you got all of these risk factors that all apply to you: grooming, manipulation, which are all true.
The reason why I do give part of the blame to drugs is because I've been around the Kursky children without doing any drugs and have never, ever harmed them, ever. It's one particular time I get on drugs, I wake up, they're in the bed with me. So yes, I do blame it on drugs, but I take full responsibility for taking those drugs.
I hear that. I hear that. What other risk factors applied to you that you learned in sex offender treatment?
Poor impulse control. If you would like to have me to elaborate on that, poor impulse control, because of the fact I was with my ex-wife. I know it's wrong to do drugs, but did I do them? Yes, I did. I don't even do drugs. I didn't even want her drinking around my kids whenever she lived with me. So why would I go off and do drugs? But I did. So yes, I had a poor impulse control. I wanted to get messed up with my ex-wife. Get messed up with my ex-wife, and this happened. Why it happened, I cannot explain. Did it happen? Yes, it did. Do I hold myself responsible? Every single day for the last 14 years and 1 day. I place the blame on nobody but myself.
Now, one of the young girls contracted a sexually transmitted disease that you also had. Is that true?
That cannot be proven. The reason why I say it cannot be proven, when I was in Caddo, I asked to be seen about it. The DA had the DA and the one that contracted the sexually transmitted disease, they said cannot be tested in male, first of all. Second of all, if you have the complete report, you will read that one of the girls' mother testified that she had the disease before she ever gave birth to
I'm
any of
asking
her.
about you, sir. Did you have a sexually transmitted disease?
I can neither confirm nor deny that because they say that the particular herpes virus that these children have cannot be detected in male.
Did you have a sexually transmitted disease?
No,
You've never had one.
I mean, I've had chlamydia, but it's not during this. It's back in my teen years. I've never had an outbreak of herpes.
What do you think your actions have done to the victims in this case?
Devastated. I know it's devastating. It's devastated them, not just the victim, but the co-victim, the family, their mother, their father, their stepmother, their brother, their kinfolk. They're like psychological. They're mental. I mean, destroys a lot of people were destroyed. My actions, I threw a pebble in a pond, and the ripple effect is still going on to this day.
And you ended up pleading guilty to 2 counts of forcible rape
Yes, sir, I
for a
did.
17-year sentence.
Yes, sir, I did.
You were about to go to trial for aggravated rape, which carried life in prison.
Yes, sir, it does.
Gordon, what can you tell us about Mr. Kelly?
Well, Mr. Marabella know me very well. So I would really like to hear the victim speak before I give my opinion, but I guess
I'm sorry, I can't hear what you
Want to
said.
hear the victim speak when you.
Okay, good. Thank you, sir.
I normally don't
Okay.
ask. Can I hear the victim speak before I give my
Sure,
Yes, sir.
sure,
Yes, sir.
sure, yes. Let's hear from your mother right now, Miss Friend, Miss Joyce Friend. Good afternoon, ma'am. We can't hear
Good
you.
afternoon. Yes, sir. Here I am.
Yeah.
Here I am. Sorry.
If you'd introduce yourself and tell us what you'd like us to know about your son.
My name is Joyce Frith. I live in West Monroe. Um, Nathaniel is my son. We're very close. We're always very close. Definitely this was a shock to us all, of course. He was out on his own, had his own place, had the kids, except for Anna, and I had Anna. When she was removed from his home, and then we took Anna, and we raised Anna. And then after that happened with Sean, we had both of the children, Dylan and Anna, and we raised both of those children. Dylan is now 25 and Anna is 22, I believe. But as far
We've lost you, ma'am. We've lost your voice.
he worker, he always worked. I never had a problem with him working. Never had a problem with him, supporting the kids, whatever they needed, whatever they wanted. He was, all I had to do was call and ask. He was not a lazy person by any means. He worked, and all of his work was a physical type labor or laborer type job. I've supported him all these years, through this. Stood by him and supported him. Tried to be there for him and tried to go see him as much as we could. Anna could not see him, of course, until she got to be 18. Then she could, we could take her to go see him then. So it's been, I understand, that it's very extremely difficult. I cannot put myself in the other person's place because I've not been there. But I'm very sorry that happened. Yes. Very sorry.
Thank you very much, and we appreciate your comments. Now we'll
Thank you,
hear from the opposition. Let's hear from Miss Samantha Thurston.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Kurtzy, would you please introduce yourself and tell us what you'd like us to know?
My name is Samantha Kurtzy. Throughout my life since that incident has happened, I have grown to not trust men other than my own father. I have my own kid as well. I don't trust no one around her at all. I have had some PTSD, some anxiety, some anger issues. And it all led from that occurrence.
Thank you, ma'am. Is that your dad with you?
Yes, sir.
Mr. John Kirksey?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
What would you like to tell us?
The time of the incident, my children had went and stayed like the entire summer. And we were
We're having trouble hearing you, Mr. Kirksey.
during the time of the incident, my children were living in Shreveport with Chris. No,
It's on
okay.
here.
They were living with Christy Self. We were transitioning from moving from one town to another, me and my second wife. And then when they moved back home, that's when we found out everything. And during the whole process, I worked for the sheriff's office, and I found out there was other allegations, not only, you know, my children, but his also, plus ex-girlfriends that had actually filed a claim. And then she put out a restraining order against him, and then she dropped it and moved states. And from the information I was given, he had threatened her and her kid and everything. And that's why they moved and disappeared. But this, to me, everything that I've looked into, this was not the first go around. Wasn't the first time this has happened. It's been devastating to watch my children have to deal with something like this.
Thank you very much, sir. Now we'll hear from Ms. Kimberly Kirksey.
Okay, yes,
Ms. Kirksey, if you'll introduce yourself and tell us what you would like us to know.
my name is Paige, and with all of this, even when it's happened, it still haunts me to this day. I don't trust in men anymore. I have really bad depression and anxiety and PTSD and all of that. And it's like the memory is still there. And it's really hard. And I don't know. This whole situation's been really hard, and all of this coming up came to a shock, and it was really hard, but I'm here now and I'm standing my ground and just letting y'all know that this is not easy.
Thank you very much, ma'am. We appreciate your comments. Warden?
Yes, Mr. Maribel. So I'm sure you notice the same things that I notice. When you ask Nathaniel anything, the first thing, instead of admitting or denying, he says it can't be proven. Things of that nature, those kind of answers. Can't be proven, and never was validated. Not that he didn't do them or not that he has remorse for them. It's very disappointing to me because he and I had a long conversation yesterday, and I told him not to lie to me. Same thing I tell every other inmate whenever I interview him and I have conversations with him about these boards and these hearings. And the first thing he did when he sat down to me this morning was he told me he lied to me yesterday, which I already knew he did. But he lied to you as well when he said it was the first time he'd ever done ecstasy or done it, because he told me different yesterday, because I have right here in my notes that I recommend substance abuse treatment for him, because we had a long talk about the numerous times that he used ecstasy and alcohol, and I wanted him to get treatment. So it's very concerning to me for a convicted sex offender to not take ownership at all for his crime. Not show the proper remorse that he needs to show. And to the victims, let me extend my sincere regrets and sympathies for what happened to you, because I have no doubt what you say happened to you happened to you. Again, as we always talk about, it's my job to help these guys reform their lives and get out and stay out and ensure these things never happen again. And Nathaniel's a decent offender. He's a tutor for me. He does a good job of that. He helps others. But my concern has to be for the general public, has to be for children again. And I think you know where I'm going with my recommendation on this. And you know, y'all know me very well. This is not something that I normally am as frustrated with it about as I am today, but I'm very disappointed in Nathaniel and the way he's reacted to this, and his ownership is not there. Till he gets that, it concerns me that he will reoffend. So I do recommend the substance abuse treatment. He does need that. I recommend he's in nurturing parenting. I recommend that he completes that. But my recommendation today is not a positive.
Warden, thank you very much for your very honest comments. Mr. Kelly, is there anything you'd like to say to the board before we vote?
He said no, sir.
All right. Board ready to vote? Yes. Mr. Kelly, it is very disappointing that you weren't forthcoming and not honest with us. You know, as the warden points out, they can't prove this. They can't prove that. You pled guilty to these two charges. You were charged with two extremely serious charges, aggravated rape, and you pled guilty. And Mr. Kirksey indicated in our reports and what we've seen is he did that. He agreed to that sentence so his daughters wouldn't have to go through a trial and have to relive what happened. And then today, for them to sit here and watch you say, nobody proved anything. And you talked about all of these triggers that you had. And you're right, you had them all. But you were alleging it's all about because you shouldn't have took drugs. You are a textbook sex offender. And until you accept that and understand that, you're never going to be safe. The community is never going to be safe around you. Based upon law enforcement opposition, victim opposition, your lack of candor, my vote today would be to deny your parole. Ms. Wise?
All right, Mr. Kelly. First of all, to the victim's family, I appreciate the courage that it took for you all to participate today in this hearing. As Paige said, you are standing your ground, and you are doing a lot better than you realize. Because you're here today, you're doing a lot better than you realize. I concur with my colleague. My vote is denied for the reasons already been stated on the record. You do have law enforcement opposition as well. The age of the victims, the impact of the crime on the victims. Those are my main reasons for denying. That is my vote.
Thank you, Mr. Freeman.
I concur with what my colleagues said. Once again, I want to thank the victims. Be strong, hang in there. Don't let this man control your life. That's what he tried to do before. Don't let him do it. And you already received a plea bargain. You probably should have gotten a life sentence, in my opinion. So my vote is to deny.
Mr. Kelly, you've received 3 votes to deny your parole. It's recommended that you get substance abuse treatment, you take other programs, and you look internally to be able to admit to yourself what you really did. Because until you do that, you're going to be a danger. So good luck to you.